Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition Intro to Origin live stream. My name is Jake,
And I'm Russ.
and we're very excited to have you here. Welcome to Shaper HQ here in San Francisco. We're doing a very fun little project for you today.
Yeah. We are going to be building some parts for this here gin joint bar box. Let's show this off on the side camera. And we've got some box joints here that we're going to cut. We're going to cut some of this hardware in here, these two hinges. But before we get started, a little bit about this show. There we go. We're doing this because we got in touch with the folks at Rockler, and they said, hey, a lot of our customers have questions about the Shaper Origin. So not only is this going to be about this project, it's also going to be about what the tool is, what we use it for, how we use it, all this really good stuff. We're also going to be working with Shaper Workstation today, our solution for vertical work holding with Origin, and Shaper Plate, the universal template for Origin that allows us to do things like install hardware really easily across different pieces of wood.
Yeah. It's also a really great time of year because we are in our promo period.
Yeah, that's right. This promo is available at every Rockler store in the country, so we definitely encourage you to pop into your local Rockler and check that out. But before we get started, let's run through it quickly here on the Rockler site. This is Shaper Origin with the complete plate and workstation package. And when you buy everything together, we get all kinds of savings, over $800. This is, I'll just say it outright, this is the biggest deal that we have ever done. You get a bunch of cool stuff in here. Mini sys, customizable toolbox, pry bar, clearing brush, 2-inch double-sided tape, Shaper beanie. That's like fun stuff. But really impactful here, we've got 2 training classes with Jake and I. This is like 2 hours plus total. That's going to get you started from the ground up with the Shaper system. 9 premium projects that walk you through step by step how to use the tool for all the different things that it can do. Plus, we are knocking $300 cash off the complete system, which is more than we've ever done. So, check this out. If you are interested after watching the show, say like, hey, I want to get my hands on this thing and see what it can do in person, we have an Origin demo station at every Rockler location in the country. Yep. So find the one that's closest to you, swing over and check it out.
Yeah. And we're here live. The point of this is so you can take those questions, you can ask us. They're going to be in the chat. We're going to go through them all at the end and demo them. And we have a lot of really cool giveaways that we we want want to send you.
Totally. So Rockler sent us some of this stuff. We've got these sweet Rockler mugs. There's way more of this than just what's on the shelf. We've got some Rockler mugs for your coffee. We've got, you can never have too many clamps. So we've got these bandy clamps, really good for edge banding and small stuff. We've got these bench cookies, a couple sets of these, great for finishing, sanding, rounding over, etc. And some cool Rockler baseball caps. So the deal is, like Jake said, ask questions in the chat. This might be new to a lot of you, and we want to explain as much of it as we can. For, I'm going to say, every question that we get, we will spin the wheel. We've got a wheel of names that we're going to collect. I'll tell you how to do that in a second, but we'll spin the wheel and give away something for every question. So ask some good questions in that Q&A chat box on the side of the screen or at the bottom of the screen, depending on how you're watching. Blake is in the chat representing Shaper. We also have a rep from Rockler in the chat answering any Rockler questions. They're going to send us those meaty demo questions. We're going to demo those at the end of the show. How do you enter the giveaway? That's another thing. There's going to be a poll that pops up in the middle of the show asking you a question. I think we just want to know who your favorite internet woodworkers are because the holidays are coming up. I'm going to have some downtime. I want to know what videos to watch. So just let us know who your favorite internet woodworkers are. And that will enter you into this giveaway. So 2 things. Q&A, enter the giveaway with the poll. Easy enough?
Easy enough.
What do you say we get started and cut some box joints?
We always like to start off with a little sawdust here. So before we go through the setup, I'm just going to go ahead and cut the first set of box joints.
Yeah, so what are we looking at here before you get started, and then I can narrate some more as you cut?
Let me get that side cam just to show you my setup. I'm working on Workstation. I have the side of my bar box mounted in Workstation, and I'm going to cut my box joints along this edge. Now, the neat thing about the box joint on Origin is there's no computer needed. It's an entirely on-tool experience. So I just enter in the information, the dimensions of my material, and it's going to generate a box joint file for me to cut.
So that green line that we're looking at is the box joint template. And then easy peasy, that dotted line that shows up relative to those 6 settings on the left-hand side of the screen, that dotted line is what we're going to be following. Origin keeps us exactly on the line as we're cutting. If you stray too far away from that line, it retracts the spindle so that you don't accidentally cut into your work. And it's going to give us some perfect box joints. Let's go ahead and cut this one. Then we'll go through the setup process for side B.
All right.
All right, again, as we're going through this, make sure to ask all the questions that you have. What Jake's doing here is he's keeping those crosshairs roughly over top of that dotted line. You can see the dot following the dotted line. That represents the center of Origin's spindle, where that router bit is. And you can see that spindle auto-correcting in real time, keeping that spindle exactly on the dotted line, even if Jake's moving those crosshairs all over the place. You can see this corrective action inside that little window of the corrective range there. We just did a roughing pass. We're going in automatically for a finishing pass here, just skimming off that last little bit of material. And Jake, let's show everybody what happens if you go off the line here. Oops. Okay, so just got a retraction there, went off the line. You can always return exactly to where you were. Pick back up where you left off. Origin retracts that spindle super quickly, so that you don't cut into your work and make any mistakes with these box joints. Also really handy for things like engravings, inlays, bigger joinery like mortise and tenons, and hardware install, which we're also going to show you later in the show. So there's that roughing pass and that finishing pass. Now we can go into that side camera and see how neat these box joints are. Perfectly straight lines on those. I think we can go ahead and unclamp that, yeah.
Voila.
Looks good. And speaking of other things you can do with Origin, these blind dados, super handy. We did these before the show just to set up these panels.
So all of these are going to be for our white oak shelves that will fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the back double blind dado.
Mm-hmm. So that's using Origin in a nutshell.
Yep.
Keep the crosshairs roughly over the line. The tool does a lot of the work for you, keeping you centered exactly on that dotted line that you're trying to follow. But if you've got any questions on that process, again, ask them in the chat. We got the first side done here. Normally what we would do to set up the second side here, because the A and B are perfectly relative to each other, there's a button that lets you just swap from the A side to the B side, cut the positive, then cut the negative. But because we want to show you guys how this works and how straightforward it can be to set up box joints, we're actually going to go through the whole process of setting these up from scratch. So when we're doing this, kind of contrast this in your head to the process of setting up box joints on the table saw for a weird width of material.
Yeah.
Or setting up your box joint or dovetail jig for a plunge router, you know. What's cool about this is that it works with any different width material, any router bit that you have. There's no like collet bushings or anything like that to mess with. Just a couple settings on the screen. Let's get started. Yeah.
All right. So first thing, hop over that side cam. I have my workstation set up so that my clamping face is in the second position. So it gives me space here for the bit to come around. So I'm not cutting into my workstation. This has 3 height adjustments. We can bring it all the way to the top or another step down if we're doing really deep tenons. I'm going to take my support bar and clip it in to the top. And what that does for me is it gives me a nice hard surface to zero out on to find my height, just like that. And then you might not be able to see it, but I also have these 2 vertical alignment pins. That's going to help me keep 90 to the top of my workstation. So pressed up against both of those. Clamp everything in. And there we go. Now we have 2 nice solid datums to register off of. And And as Russ was saying, we're setting this up just for the sake of learning. But the idea is you set this up once in the beginning of your project and you just repeat it for the entire box. This is a one-time thing.
Yeah, you got 8 sets of box joints in a double-sided box. Yeah.
All right. Next step is we're going to basically help Origin see where it is in space by scanning in our workspace. So I'm going to start in Scan, New Scan, tap that green button. I'm just moving from side to side, and you can notice those domino shapes are turning blue as soon as Origin's camera can see them.
Mm-hmm.
Tap that green button again, and it's piecing all of those pictures together to create what we call a workspace.
Exactly. We've got 3 steps here: scan, design, and cut. First, the scan makes that picture with the camera. Now in design, we can place a coordinate system on this image and then also place our template on that coordinate system. This can be kind of heady stuff, but the steps are actually pretty simple. So what I would say here is just trust the process. If you're learning to do this for the first time, just go through the steps. Blindly follow the steps even. Yeah. And the more you follow the steps, the more it's going to start to make sense to you.
All right, so we're going to create a grid because we want this box joint to be perfectly aligned with our material.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good image of it here, but I want to have a hard reference path. So grid, new, and I am lowering the bit down, and it is working as a probe that I am now contacting the edge of my material. Probe 1.
Yeah, this is creating our x-axis on that front edge of the material. 2 probes to make a line, and then around the left-hand side, we're going to probe a 3rd time to make that y-axis perpendicular to the x-axis. And now we have a 0, 0 point, an origin point, at that bottom left corner of our material.
Cool. And you can see that XY rate readout as I move along.
Where is that? Right at the top there?
Right at the top here. X 0.5, X 1 inch.
This is snapping to the grid now.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and head into create. You can see we have a whole bunch of different options, things that you can create just directly on tool. Again, no design software needed. And what I am interested in is box joint basic. Nice. I already have all the information typed in, but
yeah, let's run through it.
We have the thickness of our stock, 1/2 inch. The width is 5 3/4. And total number of pins. This is kind of fun because, like, I don't know, let's say you want to do some big, beefy pins. There we go. I think the original box had 5 pins.
The original box has 5 pins, but what did we do here? 9?
We did 9. I like that.
So really easy to play with that.
But heck, you could do 13 if you wanted to do really fine ones. So let's go ahead and do 9. Another fun tip here. You can also make bridle joints with this. Because what is a bridle joint but a box joint with 3 fingers?
Yeah.
And half laps. All right. Now that we have that created, I am simply going to place it at 0, 0 by hitting that green button again. Now that we've placed it, that design is stuck there. We could turn the tool off, we could put it on the shelf, come back next week, and it's going to know exactly where it is still based on that file that we just created.
Yeah, the cool thing is that the router's always saving your work, so no problem taking a break for lunch.
Yeah.
No problem taking a vacation now and then.
Yeah.
It's always saving your work so you can come back to it.
And not to mention, if you're working on multiple things, you can actually jump back and forth between different work setups, and it's still going to remember where you were.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm putting our 8mm, call this one Excalibur, 8mm by 35mm bit. And just for reference, when I was creating that grid, I used the engraving bit backwards. So it's just a solid 1/4 inch shank. That gives it, no room for mistakes if you're just using a solid probe.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I see we're looking at the A side here. Didn't you already cut the A side?
Yeah, I did. So still in design mode. I just need to hover over that cut path. Now I have a swap button, and we're ready to cut the bees.
Yeah, so you can see how that pocket changes there. All right, so we did scan, we did design. The next thing is cut. So let's walk through all the settings in here also before we get started.
Nice. All right. From top to bottom, we have the cut depth, which is just a hair over the thickness of our material.
Mm-hmm.
We do that on purpose because we'd rather shave down the tails of our box joints than have to shave down the entire side of the box.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just 5/1000th of an inch per hour. We are cutting an inside cut.
What does this do?
So that green line that you were talking about earlier, that is the actual shape of everything.
Mm-hmm.
We are cutting on the inside of that green line. But for whatever reason, if we wanted to change that up, we change that to an outside.
Mm-hmm.
If we wanted to cut the positive of this.
Yeah. Now, we were talking about doing really big box joints, like 3 or 5 pins. I think pocketing would be really helpful for that. Let's show that off.
Yeah. So pocketing basically turns origin into a normal router. It allows you to move freely anywhere in this hashed zone, but it won't let you go outside of that area.
Mm-hmm. And there's a little bit of clearance in a pocket between the pocket and the boundary because this is intended to be a roughing operation. We're going to rough this and then come back in with an inside cut just to clean that up right to the edge.
Yeah. You're just
Okay.
hogging it out.
So we got inside, outside, pocket. We have 2 more. We've got online, which isn't very useful for box joints, but it is really useful for something like an engraving where you want to engrave exactly on the line of the template. Maybe you're writing some text. And then we also have guide, which makes a path actually kind of by default non-cuttable, just so you don't accidentally cut something that you don't mean to. The letters in this template are guides. We can go ahead and turn that box joint back to an inside cut now because we do want to cut that.
Great. Next, we have the offset feature. Offset is kind of just one of many things, but it's one of the things that makes this tool really magic.
Mm-hmm.
Offset, not only the basic concept is it moves your cut path away from or into your cut line,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what the value you enter in there is. So you can use that for a roughing pass to rough it out and then do a finish pass. Or you can also do it to just take off a couple thousandths of an inch at a time in the negative direction to make things actually fit.
Yeah. I think the box joint should fit right out of the gate, but we will probably want to fine tune the hardware install a little bit. And we'll use offsets for that.
I'm going to give it like a 3 thou positive because I want to sneak up and get that super right
Yeah?
fit.
Okay.
All right, next one we got is the bit size. So that's just, I have an 8mm bit in there.
Okay.
Now it knows the diameter of my cutter. And Z-Touch, I have to tell it where 0 is.
This is probing the length of the router bit so that Origin knows how deep to cut. And then last, we've got our speeds. Leave them at default.
Yeah.
90% of the time, I leave these at default. I slow these auto speeds down when I'm working with something like a soft metal, like brass, or I'll speed them up if I'm doing something that has very, very low resistance, like shallow engraving, for example. Yeah. But for most of the work, I just leave those on default. You are driving the router by hand most of the time, so you are going to feel the resistance and kind of be able to set the speed on your own.
Nice. Want to talk about AutoPass?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So before, when I did that other cut, I was using an extension called AutoPass. Now that is a paid extension for Origin that basically, instead of entering each depth per pass, you enter the final depth and it will work its way down to that final depth and final dimension.
Mm-hmm.
You can obviously function without it. It's more of just a speed and efficiency thing if you want to, really batch out joinery or whatever it may be.
Makes things a lot faster.
So I'm going to leave that on. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and cut this side. Should be quick. So hopefully you have a lot more context now about how to set up Origin for something like a box joint cut. We're going to go through this setup process again to cut our hardware. We'll do that next after these joints and after a couple of announcements here. We do need to pull up that poll question. We'll do that soon. Remember, this poll question is how you enter for the giveaways. We've got a bunch of Rockler swag here. I think we're going to throw in some Origin stuff, some Shaper stuff too. Remind me what we had on the docket for that, Jake, when we get to this break. But so you can see Jake's coming along here on these box joints, and just like the first time, Origin is keeping that dot centered perfectly on the dotted line. Jake is roughly following the dotted line with his crosshairs, trying to keep the crosshairs over the dotted line, not the solid line. Important distinction. And as he does this, Origin's keeping him exactly right up to the edge of that template. If he were to go over the edge of that corrective range indicating circle, Origin would automatically retract so that he doesn't cut into his work and accidentally mess anything up there. It's a good little lifesaver. And that's it. When the whole thing's filled in with blue, that basically means you're done.
All right. Now, before I pry this out, it's always a good idea to do a test fit, just to make sure that you don't need to take anything else off. And I'm going to say that is perfect. Just in the right amount of friction.
Yeah, okay, great.
If it were to be too tight, I could take that offset feature and just shave 2 to 3 thousandths of an inch off.
Mm-hmm.
And again, really dial in that fit.
Nice. Cool. Love that. That's box joints in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Before we go into this hardware install, I want to reiterate for some folks that may have joined the show a little bit late. What are we doing today?
We're showing off Origin.
We're
And
showing off
system.
Origin. Welcome to our special introduction to Origin live stream. We got linked up with the folks at Rockler who asked for this. And so we're really happy to show this off for some Rockler customers. Today we're working on this gin joint bar box here. Let me open this up. We're doing the box joints and the hardware install for this. Origin makes cutting these box joints and the hardware mortises really easily. And on top of that, we're getting our Sauce 101 hinges from the folks at Rockler. So this is hardware that you can install from your local Rockler, install really easily with Origin.
A notoriously tricky little hinge to install correctly.
Yeah, super tricky little hinge. So we're going to show that next. What else are we doing? It's the promo.
Yeah.
That's another reason why we're here, obviously. So let me pull this up on the computer here just so that I don't miss anything. We have a promo going on right now. Over $800 in savings when you buy Origin from your local Rockler store. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Free customizable mini cis toolbox, shaper beanie, pry bar, clearing brush, double-sided tape, 2 training classes, an hour plus each with Jake and I. 9 premium projects that go step-by-step how to use Origin and all different kinds of applications that you might want to use it for. And then on top of that, not exactly called out here, but very important, $300 cash. We're taking $300 cash off the complete shaper system. That's Origin, workstation, and plate. And all this stuff is in stock at your local Rockler hardware store. So go check out Rockler in person and get your hands on an Origin, because after you watch this and after you see some of the stuff that you can do, I think it's natural to want to try it yourself. We've got a demo station at every Rockler in the U.S.
They say seeing is believing, but honestly, in this situation, feeling it is believing it. Getting hands-on with this tool is the moment.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Did we pull the poll question up? I think we should do that now. Okay. So remember, we're doing the giveaway at the end of the show. To enter the giveaway, just answer this poll question that should be on your screen right now. It's something like, who are your favorite internet woodworkers?
Yeah.
We're looking for stuff to watch when we're home for the holidays, so let us know who your favorite internet woodworkers are. We're giving away all kinds of cool Rockler swag. We've got this sweet coffee cup, big camp mug, bandy clamps, bench cookies, Rockler hat. We've got more of this, and I just heard that we got the okay to give away a Shaper Trace also. So Trace helps you convert your hand drawings to the digital files that Origin uses, and you can use these not only with Origin, but you can also use these files for laser cutters, embroidery machines, etc.
Nice.
A lot of fun. Vinyl cutters also. So we're going to give away Shaper Trace. We are going to spin the wheel for every question that we get. We're doing live Q&A at the end of the show. I saw that Blake's been collecting a lot of questions from the chat box and sending those to us. There's a world in which we have more questions than giveaways, but we have 3 of each of these, so that's 12 already, and then a trace on top of that is 13. So if we can get 13 questions, we'll give away 13 things.
I love it.
Sweet. What do you say we roll into that hardware install?
Yeah, we got a little bit of setup.
Oh yeah, we were supposed to pare that stuff down.
You know the drill. Whoever doesn't cut it gets to assemble it.
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
I'll get this set up over here.
Okay. I'll put the window, the back in this. Yeah. So walk us through what you're setting up now, what you're switching over to, Jake.
So I'm dropping my workstation, and I am going to be using plate to cut this hardware in the fully assembled boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But with a little extra help from the edge mortising adapter.
Mm-hmm.
So plate as it comes, super versatile, universal template is what we refer to it as. The edge mortising adapter, is this part right here, screws into it and allows you to essentially clamp it to any edge surface. Think a full-size door that you want to cut hinge mortises in. This would be your setup here. So we're going to use it to cut the doors.
Jake, I saw you had the mallet over here.
Bam. Yeah, that back is snug.
It's a little snug.
Should I set up on this one?
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
So what are we going to do here? We're going to show how to do a couple of these kind of preset, and then we'll go through the setup steps again.
Yeah, precisely. So we already have these cut, but for the sake of demonstration, all
We're
I
gonna
have
just
here.
cut extra hinges in this box.
Huh?
We're just cutting a bunch of extra hinges in this box, basically.
Because it's fun to cut
What's
hinges.
more fun than cutting hinges?
The only thing that I've done thus far is give myself 2 markings in from my edge at about 2.5 inches. And that's also kind of the benefit of of plate, is that you're working off your physical references again. Make your mark, line the edge mortising adapter up with your mark, and we're going to clamp this into place.
Mm-hmm. So whereas with Workstation we were doing all of this digitally, we were placing that box joint relative to a grid that we made on the part itself. With this, we've set up plate already. We've aligned our digital template to some physical reference features in plate, and now we're just lining plate up to a mark that we've made on the box. So just measure, mark, and cut, a lot more like a standard plunge router template.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should I pair these flat? Yeah.
That would be
Give
great.
me the flush cut saw. Nice.
All right, now I'm going to bring Origin into, and before I hit the green button, I just want to show you, the second I set Origin down onto plate, it immediately recognized this new section of tape as another workspace that I've already done in the past. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, see all visible workspaces. Drop into my plate master. Okay, here we go. There's my plate window. With plate, I know exactly where the edge of that edge mortising adapter is because of just the nature of plate. We can actually probe off of these little features, and now we know the location of exact center and front fence. Okay, going to import. I'm going to go into my hardware catalog, and I can grab that SOS 101 hinge. For those of you not familiar with the hardware catalog, we have taken most every major hardware manufacturer and taken their entire catalog, digitized it, and stored the files on ShaperHub for you to download and use. So anything from the SOS catalog, anything from Brusso, Blum,
Sugatsuni, all this stuff
Sugatsuni.
that's available at your local rockler. You might think, well, I've got this hardware in my shop now when I picked it up.
Yeah.
How do I install it? I don't have the templates for this stuff. These are the templates. All you do is sync them to Origin, and you're ready to cut your Sauce 101 hinge, for example.
Yep. And they've all been made in-house and tested by us, and they're good to go. All right. So I have this file here now, and I'm moving around. You can see how the file is basically snapping from point to point. I'm going to tell it to go to -51.
Negative 51.
Or is it
Which
4?
is just where we decided that this should be relative to the fence. Yeah, negative 51.
millimeters.
Yep, and you can see now how this lines up. Yep, right there. That's perfect. So right close to that fence, with just enough breathing room on either side of this admittedly narrow door panel.
We're working on 1/2-inch material, which is the minimum that you can use for a Sauce 101 hinge. So we want to get it just right. All right, I tap that green button to lock it in. And drop down to a smaller bit.
What bit are you going to use for this?
I'm going to use the stock 1/4-inch 2-flute end mill. This is the bit that comes with Origin in the box. I'm going to just tell the tool, hey, I am using a 1/4-inch bit. It's going to tell me I need to Z-touch, and it's dropping down. Bingo. All right, I'm going to do this in 2 passes.
Okay.
One for the outside, one for the inside. Here we go.
So this is a pretty easy hinge to cut with Origin. Origin's just going to keep Jake on that line, but if you've installed one of these before, you know that it's pretty tricky. They actually just ship a paper template with these, usually Sauce does. So either you'd have to make your own physical template, much more difficult, or try to follow the line on the piece of paper, which is really hard to do with like a little trim router or something, try to stay inside the line. So all we need to do here is just keep Origin relatively close to that dotted line, and we're going to end up with exactly that shape that we want.
And there we go. That is going to be a nice, snug.
Yeah, how's the fit on that?
Perfect.
Yeah?
Yeah. All right, let's move over to our second mark.
Yeah, so the cool thing about plate now is that once we have this hinge template set up, all we need to do is pick plate up, move it over to our other mark, and that hinge template is going to be in the exact same place relative to plate itself. So the template is coming with plate. We're going to have it automatically lined up to the other side here once Jake has that lined up with his mark and clamped in place.
Just imagine all of those hinge templates that you have sitting around condensed into one surface.
Yeah, no more drawer full of hinge templates that you need to dig through every time you want to install a piece of hardware. Oh yeah, this one's coming out nicely. It's a lot of sawing.
You only need to do the top 2.
Okay, well,
Probably should have
I
told you that.
started with the bottom 2, so I'm going to finish these first.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so you can see here that those templates came along with plate. They're lined up again to what Jake's trying to cut. And we're going to have another hinge here cut in just a second.
Have you ever tried to route something perfectly straight when the guy next to you is sawing on the table? The shape of Origin, it's easy.
Yeah.
All right, double check that fit. Perfect. Nice. And I'm super happy with the friction on this. But for whatever reason, if you wanted it to be, again, a little bit looser so it's easier to get in and out by hand, you can just shave a couple thousandths of an inch off at a time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we're going to go through the setup process of this, right? How to set up a piece of hardware for the first... Well, you kind of downloaded it already and set it up in the context of plates window. Yeah. So we already did that. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here.
We should show them where to find it.
We should show you all where to find it. So, all right, Jake. I'm going to hand off the last 15% of this job here. Go ahead and cut that last one off.
All right.
You guys ever try to show off something on the internet while the guy next to you is sawing? Let's take a look at this. All right, over here, we've got Shaper Hub. This is where we keep all of these hardware templates that we've been telling you about, along with all different projects that you can make with Origin. Here we've got some featured projects, some really cool stuff that we've made with folks like Matt Kenny, Philip Morley, Leia Amick, Aspen Golan. We've got a bunch of community projects in here. Here you can see that hardware catalog, studio designs, places where you can remix files from other Shaper Studio users, our simplified design tool. And then here we've got these premium projects. So these are the step-by-step projects that you're going to get included with your purchase of Origin during this promo. But let's pull back up here and click on this hardware catalog and check this out. This is the hardware catalog. So there are over 200 templates for different products, all different kinds of hardware, organized alphabetically, but we can also go ahead and search these by brand. Some hardware that's available at Rockler. We've got Bloom stuff. We've got Brusso. We've got what we're looking for here is Sauce, definitely. We're going to install that Sauce 101 hinge. So let's look at this. Here, for example, we've got all the Sauce barrel hinges. We've got some really cool Brusso leaf hinges or butt hinges. We've got down here, if we scroll down, we've got this Sauce 101. This is what we're installing today, so let's click into this. We've got some information on the hinge over here, the overall dimensions, screw size. That's really important because I always seem to lose the screws for these little pieces of hardware. What size do I need? Well, here, it's kind of a weird one, actually. It's a number 5. Some information on the cut, recommended cutters to use with Origin, the depth of the mortise, eventually the minimum material thickness. And then here you can see that 2D Origin file. So when we hit sync to Origin, this automatically comes into Origin. It's got that manufacturer specified backset here, the distance that Sauce wants you to install this hinge off the edge. And now this is already synced to my files, so it's going to say that I've already done it. But if I want to send this to Origin, all I have to do is hit this blue button, sync to my files, and this is going to go straight to the router. That automatically shows up right away. So you're ready to cut.
All right.
I know they're not perfectly flat, but I think we could let her rip.
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right, same deal. Marked in 2.5 inches. Line that up. And most of the time, I'm using plate and it's on a flat surface. I'm not worrying about clamps. But because we're really hanging off the edge of this board here, we want to make sure that plate is secure. But it has a non-slip backing on it. So if you're out in the middle of a conference table or a floor and you want to install like a pop-up outlet in a conference table or a inlay in a floor, I would set this down and not worry about it. All right.
Ready?
Let it rip.
Yeah, let's cut it. Nice, easy, ready to cut. This is the cool thing about this. So once you set this up once, these hinges are always ready to cut. All you need to do is plop plate down on your work surface and you're ready to install some hinges. They're always going to be in the exact same place relative to that mark that you make. Really no better way to do it, I don't think. Awesome. So super easy to change over to that next cut. And what's cool about this is you get that CNC accuracy without any of the kind of obtuse programming or measurement that you need to do to get this hooked up on a CNC machine, full-size gantry CNC machine. You see Jake's programming this, air quotes, programming this super conversationally, just telling Origin how deep he wants to cut. We've made these profiles for you. Origin automatically calculates those tool paths, that dotted line, and all you need to do is drive the tool around and follow that path.
Bada bing,
What do you
bada
think,
boom.
Jake?
I think it's great.
Pretty happy with that? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty happy with that. That's great.
Full
That's
assembly?
really great. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Which side of Hinges is the right side for this one?
Excellent question.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Uh-huh. There we go. Look at that.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, not bad. Love it. Good work. That's Origin in a nutshell.
Excellent.
We've got, I mean, as long as we need, more than 15 minutes probably to answer these questions. We've got about 20 questions. So
Great.
I know I said we had 13 things to give away. We are actually going to have to space that out a little bit, but we get to give away all this Rockler swag. So I'm excited about that.
Sweet.
What do you say we roll into these questions and we're just going to keep the giveaways going? Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, great. All right, first question from Rob. Can Origin do American flag star inlays? I've got a lot of inlay questions in here, so let's pop over here to Shaper Hub on the computer, and I'm going to show you some of the stuff. Origin, I mean, actually, before we go on the computer, I love Origin for inlays, so check this out. This is a Shaper-made, Origin-made inlay. Let's show that off on that detail cam on the side. So you can see the accuracy on this. And yeah, with that in mind, let's look at some American flag projects here on Shaper Hub, some star inlay projects. So over here, we've got flag stars. So this is the pattern that you would want to use to cut that inlay with Origin. You don't need to do any programming whatsoever. Just hit this, click, again, sync to my files. And this is going to send that star pattern right to your Origin, ready to cut. And you can even scale this on the tool also. Maybe this isn't exactly the right size that you want. You can scale it really easily on the tool itself. Then we have some other options. This is an American flag that isn't inlaid. We've got some We the People over here. We've got some really cool stuff. We also have some studio design patterns that you can use down here if you want to design your own star pattern. So, yes. Short answer, yes. You can do American flag stars with Shaper Origin. We should actually do a show on that. I think that would be cool.
Cut both the positive and the negative. I don't know if that
Yeah.
was said, but you're doing it all.
Yeah. All right. What should we give away first? I think we should do 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah? Mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Coffee mug first.
Coffee mug first.
All right, let's do a
It's
mug.
a good mug.
It's a great mug. So we're going to spin the wheel here and give away a Rockler coffee mug.
Nice.
And I think Blake is going to note these names down. That would be really helpful. First one is George Kolechnik. All right, George, reach out to us at hello@shapertools.com and we'll get your address to ship out this coffee mug.
Nice.
All right, next question from John. How good is the dust collection and is it compatible with Festool hoses? Really good.
Yeah.
And yes, it is. We have our Shaper hose right now. We sell this black braided anti-static hose for folks that don't have Festool dust collectors, but this is designed explicitly with Festool dust collector ends in mind. They plug in exactly the same way here. We love the Festool hoses because they're braided so they run easily over the edge of your workbench.
Yeah.
And because they're anti-static, which just makes everything a little friendlier. Like stuff's less likely to get hung up on the hose. So it's great.
Other than that, dust collection, cutting flat work, fantastic. Only time I get a little dust on me if I'm doing mega deep tenons on workstation because
Yeah, like hanging over the end.
it's
It's
open
just
underneath.
so hard to collect that for any router, really. But it's really good. So there's that one. Let's give away. This is going to be so much fun. Let's give away a set of bandy clamps.
The wheel is colorful today.
Yeah, it is. Dan Sudkamp. All right, Dan, again, reach out to us. hello@shapertools.com. We'll send these bandy clamps out to you.
Yeah.
Question from Gary. How do you do inlays/initials? I think this is two separate questions because there are a couple ways to do your initials. For inlays, again, we showed off this kind of decorative inlay that we've got here. Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Let's just talk about
Origin cam for that? Yeah. Look at this inlay.
It's a little belt buckle. And now, just imagine each of these petals as their own little shape. We cut that out of a piece of maple. Then we come over to our piece of walnut and we just cut the negative of that pocket out of the walnut and piece in all of our positive pieces. And as long as we give each of these shapes just a tiny little offset, we're talking again 0.02 of an inch.
Mm-hmm.
When they all come together, there's not going to be any interference.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ian says to turn that to show the flushness. I mean, yeah, really good. We sanded this down also.
Well, it's also sand shaded.
Yeah.
Which is pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty
so,
cool.
a couple resources if you want to learn more about this. Check out Shaper Sessions. Sessions.shapertools.com. Shapertools.com/sessions. I think they both get you to the same place.
One of those is going to work.
We've got a bunch of inlay shows. These are also on YouTube that teach you start to finish how to do an inlay. Or also, go to your local rockler. They've got some inlay material that you should be able to try and inlay with. And it's really simple. Again, just cut the positive, then cut the negative, and fit the two together. The other way to do initials is just with an engraving. So when we were showing box joints, we showed an on-line cut. With an engraving, you're going to give Origin just a line to follow, and you're going to engrave with a 60-degree pointed router bit along that line. There's some text on tool that you don't need to go to a computer to design with. You can just pop your initials into the tool itself, and it'll help you engrave them. Or you can use other fonts with something like Shaper Studio or import from other sources.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Let's give away bench cookies.
Yes.
Set of 4 bench cookies. Randall Dillard. Nice.
Reach out to us at hello@shapertools.com. Just let us know where we should ship this.
Nice. All right. Question from Ron. Can you make a box joint wider than workstation itself? I think there are 2 ways to do that. I'm going to say yes, you can. I think one way to do that is to put 2 workstations next to each other. We've done this before. Somebody wanted to make a really wide box jointed coffee table, like a waterfall coffee table. And this is how we helped them do it with 2 workstations next to each other. The other thing that you could do with the accuracy of probing is you could do half the set of box joints, then move the piece over and do the other half of the set.
Mm.
Probe one side, create a grid on one side, and then create another grid on the other side. And that'll line up. Origin's accurate to the thousandth of an inch. So
Yeah.
as long as your material's prepped accurately, then that's going to work as well for you.
Yeah, I like that. But you definitely could. The arms of Workstation, I should say, there are two arms that come out to support the support bar. Those come off and basically allow you to clamp something that's wider than Workstation to it.
Even farther. Nice. Let's give away a Rockler hat.
Nice. Let's do it.
I love these hats.
Trenton, congratulations. Reach out to us at hello@shapertools.com. Let us know where to send it. It's a really cool hat. It's got a little leather patch on the back, moisture wicking. It's like a nice distressed Rockler blue.
Yeah, nice. Question from Jim Ramsey. What was in the Larkspur update?
Aha.
So this is a really good one. We periodically update Origin and all of our software just to make it better. We're always making our tools better. And so we released 3 new features just last month for Origin that everybody gets. So the first one is a set of new probing routines. What we did today was we probed just 2 edges of our work to get a grid with a coordinate system. What you can do now is also probe a rectangle to get a center point and a grid based off that, and a circle to get a center point and a grid based off that. You also can now export all of your workspaces from Origin. This is related to a further question that we got down here. Question from Mark. Do the data files stay in the unit's memory only, or is there an ability to download to the computer? Now there is. You can export your workspaces. And then last but not least, for users of AutoPass, we just were able to enable pocketing for AutoPass. So it used to be that AutoPass only worked for these inside-outside cuts. This is getting a little in the weeds. But now AutoPass also works to step down different heights of these pockets.
Yeah.
So, yes, that was
So
what
glad
was in
about
the Larkspur update. Love that.
Nice.
That's a good Origin question. Should we give away the trace for that?
All right. I was going to save it for the end, but yes.
Let's do it. I like that question so much.
All right. Let's spin for the trace. Paul Fillion, congratulations. Reach out to us at hello@shapertools.com to let us know where to send your new trace.
Nice. Here's a good one from Donald. How are the router bits sharpened, and do you need special equipment to do that? You, if you were to do this, would probably want to send it out to a carbide router bit sharpening service. And that's the same for any router bits that you would use with Origin, a CNC, a plunge router. Frankly, you don't really want to sharpen those at home.
Yeah.
Your table saw blades, you're going to want to send out to a sharpening service. That's because all of our router bits, and pretty much all the router bits that are out in the world right now at this point, are solid carbide or carbide tipped. This is one of the hardest substances known to man, way harder than the steel router bits that we grew up with. And so they need special equipment to sharpen them. The one thing that you'll want to note with Origin is that when you sharpen these router bits, it does change the diameter slightly. So if you have a 1/4 inch router bit, after it's sharpened, it might be something like 0.24 inches in diameter. When you use that, you want to keep track of that, what router bits are what diameters now that you've got some smaller sharpened bits. And just put the actual sharpened diameter into that kind of programming cut dialog in cut mode.
Yeah.
Because Origin works on that diameter to calculate where these tool paths are. So if you've got a bit that's sharpened, it's 0.24 inches, make sure you type that into Origin.
Yeah, you sharpen it again, it's 0.235 inches.
Yeah, type that into Origin. Yeah. The hardest thing is keeping track of these. For more expensive bits, though, it can definitely make sense to have them sharpened. Send those out to a service.
Yeah.
What are we giving away now? Another Rockler mug? Yeah. Cool. I love these mugs. We're going to have the Rockler guys send us more stuff so that we can keep some of it. Let's give away a Rockler mug. All right, Dave Lorman's getting a Rockler mug. Dave, reach out to us at hello@shapertools.com. We'll get that address from you. Cool question. This one's from Jerome. What types of cutters and bits are available, and for what types of projects?
Great
Do I
question.
have the bit kit down here? I think so. We have all kinds of router bits.
So we sell, and Rockler sells a wide range of bits that come from us and that are also just compatible with Origin. Here are the key things, though, to keep in mind. It should be center cutting.
So that it can plunge.
So that it
Let's
can
show
plunge.
what that means on a router bit here. Let me pull this out so we can show what center cutting means.
Yeah.
See how the edge of this one bit goes all the way to the center? This one's going all the way to the center. That's center cutting. I don't have any examples of non-center cutting in this box.
Dovetail.
Ah, the dovetail. Yeah. Here we go. See how these edges do not go all the way to the center? That means that you should not plunge with this tool because it won't be able to remove that material. So you can use non-center cutting bits with Origin, but you have to be careful about how you use them.
Yeah. The other thing is no bearing bits.
No bearing bits.
Do not want a bearing bit. You don't need a bearing bit, but you'll just run into it unnecessarily.
Yeah. So let's go to the overhead cam and we could talk about some of the bits that are in this box. What do you think? Yeah, nice. Just running down the list, we've got some smaller 1/8 inch and O flutes over here. I'm missing a couple because we've been lax on the shop policies here. Not everybody's been putting the bits back. So we've got some O flute bits here. We've got some tapered bits here and some kind of classic 1/4 inch bits. The O flute bits are for weird materials. These are for foams and for soft metals. 1/4 inch bits for kind of stock materials. We've got a couple different engraving bits over here. We've got a 90 degree, a 60 degree, and the 8mm 60 degree. And these are for obviously different types of engravings. We've got some specialty bits in the middle here. We've got a dovetail bit, coving bit, finger pull bit, and a T-slot bit would be in this position. So you can do all kinds of cool undercuts with these. The coving bit is really good for something like a juice groove on a cutting board. Over here, we've got our big joinery bits. So a 16mm bit and then 2 long 8mm bits, one finishing and one roughing. These are obviously great for big mortise and tenons, those big box joints that we were talking about. And then some other longer bits, 6mm, 4mm, 5mm. These are for some just kind of stranger use cases where you need that ratio of size, diameter to length. And then over here we have our stock European bits. So these are a 6mm, a 3mm, and again, that engraving bit. And these, you just kind of never know when that ratio of size, diameter to length is going to come in handy. So these are all the bits that are going to be available from us via Rockler. Again, definitely recommend you checking out all of these in person. Other router bits also work with Origin.
Not proprietary.
Not proprietary, but you do have to use them with a shaper collet that is the right diameter. So we have 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, 8mm, 6mm, and 3mm collets. So you want to make sure that the shank of your router bit matches with that. That was a mouthful. But there's a lot to learn about router bits.
There are.
Let's give away some band clamps.
Bandy clamps for your next edge banding project.
Mark Graybell. All right, Mark, reach out to us. hello@shapertools.com. Send those band clamps out to you. Question from Mark. What are the best ways to extend the life of your shaper tape for longer term storage and use? That's a great question. I think really the best way to extend the life of jigs and fixtures is to store them carefully. We don't recommend covering over your shaper tape with any other kind of material like packing tape, because
Yeah.
the reflections of a glossy material can just lead to not the best results if you've got kind of harsh shop lighting. Um, Store these in a way that you're not dragging the tape when you're pulling it in and out of storage. But we have fixtures that have shaper tape on them that we've had for years and years, and they're really just fine sitting out as is.
Yeah.
When you're talking about storing the rolls, I do think it's best to store them in kind of a neutral environment, not too cold. When your shop gets below 40 degrees or so, the tape might start acting funny, which is a cold shop, don't get me wrong, but try to keep the tape at kind of a moderate temperature. But what it's meant to do is it's meant to be put down, last for a long time in place, and then peel up easily. Once it's peeled up, you don't want to stick it back down again. It's one-time use in that way. And then also, this is why we created Workstation and Plate, because these have super durable long-term tape surfaces that you can set projects up on and then also return to them over time.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything to add to that?
If you live in a very humid or moist environment, tape usually doesn't like that as well.
Yeah, so try to keep your shop relatively climate controlled.
It's definitely trying to strike that right balance between just sticky enough and not too sticky to damage or leave residue.
Next up, we got bench cookies.
Nice.
Let's give away some bench cookies. This kind of blows the suspense out of the water here. We're just giving so much away.
I know.
Scott Bueller, but it's fun. All right, Scott, reach out to us at hello@shapertools.com and we'll ship out some bench cookies for you. All right. Next question from Jill. Can you enter and cut a logo?
Yeah.
Yes. What we recommend for all things that you want to cut with Origin is that you format them as an SVG file. That means a scalable vector graphic. And if you have a logo, your graphic designer should have put it in vector format already. What that means is that this logo is going to keep its sharp resolution no matter what size you display it at. So if you start with that vector, SVG, you can convert a PDF to an SVG, you can convert a DXF from something like AutoCAD to an SVG. As long as you have that SVG, you can send it to Origin and cut it out. If you have a logo that's drawn on a piece of paper, that's where Trace comes in really handy. So Trace will allow you to capture that logo, especially if it's in black and white. It loves contrast the best. And that will automatically convert that physical drawing to an SVG to use with Origin.
Yeah. That's a great
Cool.
way to do it.
We got a Rockler hat coming up.
Spin that wheel. RM Green, congratulations. Reach out to us at hello@shapertools.com. Let us know where to send it.
Here's another question from Jeff. Can you change bits between the roughing pass and the finishing pass? For example, if he wants to do the finishing pass with a tapered bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can change bits at any time. All you need to do is make sure that you tell Origin what bit you've changed to.
Yeah.
And we showed you how to do that on the cut menu. Let's show that one more time.
Right over here, circle the line through it.
Diameter. Yep.
Change that to 1/8 inch. It's going to say, hey, I need to know where 0 is. Please Z-touch.
So we'll do that. And you'll see that now it automatically recalculates those tool paths for that different bit diameter. So if we come down here, you'll see that dotted line is way closer to the edge now than it used to be. See how that doesn't clear out the whole pocket? Because it thinks that we've got an 1/8 inch cutter in there. So you can change this stuff at any time. All right, next up, Rockler mug.
Rockland mug.
Donald Turpek, you got a Rockler mug coming your way. Reach out to us, hello@shapertools.com for that address. Okay, I lost my place in this. Where were we? Can Origin do dovetails? Yes.
Sure can.
Yeah, let's pull these out. We did a show on dovetails a couple of months ago. To learn more about this, check out Shaper Sessions again. But it can do all kinds of dovetails with that dovetail bit. There's an online dovetail pattern generator that we definitely recommend. And check out that show at Shaper Sessions. But here, let's just show you, for example, a couple of dovetails here. We've got some kind of unevenly spaced dovetails that Jake's holding there. And I've got these half-blind dovetails, which are great for drawer boxes.
These are snug.
They're snug. Here, I'll trade you.
Oh, but these are cool.
We
And
got the winter moisture content here. Can I have that mallet?
But yeah, and it's super cool because with
Sorry.
there it is. With that same box joint generator, you're able to create blind, unevenly spaced, or just your run-of-the-mill dovetails. A couple of caveats: you're using a dovetail bit, which is an undercut, so you cannot retract while you are cutting. You can only retract outside of the material, plunge and retract outside, and bring it in. So I wouldn't say it's a not necessarily advanced, but it's also not a beginner move.
Mm-hmm.
Want to be confident and comfortable with the tool.
Yeah,
before you do that.
absolutely. Let's give away. Where are we now? Band clamps again?
Dandy.
Band clamps. Okay, cool. Joe Hayward. Joe, reach out to us at hello@shapertools.com so we can get those band clamps sent to you. All right, we've got a couple more questions and only 2 more things to give away, so let's knock a couple of these out here. Question from Mark: how does Origin compare to a typical CNC setup?
Great question. For one, you can take Origin with you anywhere. You can put it in the truck, take it to the job site, cut something directly into a client's floor, directly into their countertop, whatever it may be.
Install a sink, whatever.
Just
Or
the
just
whole,
take it to your friend's house.
or just that, yeah.
Yeah.
The work envelope, i.e. the size of the thing that you're working on, is virtually limitless. It all depends on how much tape you want to put down. So if you buy a 2 foot by 4 foot CNC, you are in fact limited to 2 foot by 4 foot.
Yeah, but Origin can work across the whole floor of a living room if you want to do a big decorative residential inlay or a big 4x8 sheet, even though it's the small machine.
Yeah.
There's no programming required. So with
program.
the CNC machine, you've got to learn how to program the thing, which is a whole rabbit hole in itself. With Origin, we covered all the 6 settings here: depth, offset, cut type, bit diameter, Z-touch, and speeds.
Yeah.
And that's really all the programming that there is to do with it. The other thing is that you're driving it around by hand. So it's a lot more comfortable if you're used to using a plunge router, you know?
Yeah.
It's a lot more like that hand tool experience, and you get a lot of that satisfaction of having actually cut something yourself, physically yourself.
Absolutely. And a lot more approachable. Even if in the simplest of ways, you just need to make a circle or a hole that is exactly an inch and 3/30 seconds. Whatever. You don't have a hole saw that's going to be that size. Grab your Origin, grab your plate, pop it down, and you can guarantee that hole is going to be exactly that size.
Yeah, that's most of it. What do you think? Cheaper than a big CNC machine.
It's cheaper. It
I
allows
think
you
our
to work.
fixturing is easier.
Yeah, it allows you to work on
the edge.
Usually, that kind of a feature on a CNC is an extra $10,000.
Yeah,
that might be a stretch, but to cut edge joinery and stuff.
Yeah, and it doesn't take up space in your shop.
There
you
it
put
is.
it away when you're done with it.
Exactly.
Unlike this big table that you try to resist, but you end up using it as storage half the time.
Any flat surface.
Any flat surface. All right. Question from Dan: can we cover the process to route the hollow and positives for an inlay? going to say not today. That's kind of beyond the scope of this show, but we do have Shaper sessions on that. Again, check those out at shapertools.com/sessions.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of shows where we inlay stuff. We've got one on that flower belt buckle that we showed. We've got one on this kind of mountain scene here, cutting stuff out. And then we also have a show on doing inlays with thin veneers, which you can also get from Rockler, thin veneers, how to set those up and cut them with Origin.
Did we sandshade live on session?
I think we did. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, one more, and then let's give something away. Can you cut domino edge mortises with Origin? Can you use Origin to cut domino mortises?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
In fact, they're on the hardware catalog.
Yeah, those same templates are on the hardware catalog, just like they were with the Sauce 101 hinge. And you would set it up the same way. You would use either workstation to work on the edge or plate with the edge mortising adapter to work on the edge. Okay, let's give away a set of bench cookies. And then we've got, I think 1 or 2 more questions here. Tracy Johnson. Reach out to us. hello@shapertools.com. Send those bench cookies to you.
Nice.
Question from Tom. How many patterns can you store in the system?
When we say the system, we have Shaper Hub, which is basically like the cloud for all of your design files. You don't have any limit there.
I don't think we have any limit anywhere.
Yeah, no.
Really. Like on Origin, you can store as many patterns as you want on Origin or on a USB stick to get them to Origin. On Shaper Hub, you can store as many patterns as you want. Relative to plate or workstation, you could set up as many workspaces as you want. We haven't really run into a practical limit on that in all the years that we've been doing this.
I suppose the USB stick that comes with the tool does have a limit. It's but again,
theoretical limit, but these files are so small.
Right. SVGs are very small.
Yeah.
And yeah, that USB stick is basically something that can plug into the side of tool. If you are working in an area that does not have Wi-Fi and the tool can't connect to Wi-Fi, that's fine. Put your cut files on the tool on the USB drive.
Yep. And the last one here from Jeff. What height did we set the box side width in the box joint generator? Whatever the thickness of the material is, you know. So you want the depth of that box joint to equal the thickness of the other side. You can kind of see that the depth that you want to cut equals the thickness plus a little bit, because we always want those tails to be a little long. It's way easier to pare down those tails than it is to sand the whole top, the whole side of a box down to meet the tails. So we always make those a little proud. But I put this question last because it leads me into the perfect closing little statement here. If you have any questions on this stuff, rewatch the live stream. We're going to be sending it out. Watch it again. Learn more. Try to absorb. But also go to your local Rockler and check out an Origin at their demo station, because those guys are really knowledgeable. And there is nothing quite like trying the tool yourself.
That's true. All right.
Yeah. That's all we've got for today. We've got one more giveaway. We've got a Rockler hat.
Let's spin that wheel.
Let's spin the wheel. All right, this one's from Mark. Just Mark.
Just Mark.
Just Mark. Mark, reach out to us at hello@shapertools.com.
Mark, if you're here.
We'll send you a hat. Thank you again so much, everybody. Reminder, deal now till December 20th. At your local Rockler, save over $800 when you buy the complete Shaper system. All the hardware that we use today is available at Rockler. If you missed out on the swag is available at Rockler. I think this hat looks pretty good with myself. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.